All right, we are live.
Cool. So welcome to this live Patreon Hangout exclusive live stream. Today we're going to talk about our daily habits, our daily routines rather, because life is full of routines, life is full of habits, and that's a healthy thing. And all animals have a cycle that they go through in 24 hours, and this is very normal. Some animals have other cycles, but we wanted today share what we do in a typical day, how we do it, down to the little finer details of how we live our lives, how it relates to health and all that sort of thing. So if you're present, if you're here, you can say hello in the chat. So we'll see that you're here, and we'll wait for some more people to come in as we get started, of course.
Obviously, just a little note on how things work here. We're using Google Hangouts, and Michael is in Nice in France, and I'm here in Norway. The way it works is that when I speak, my face pops up, and when Mikkel speaks, Q.
I pop up. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll see how it goes. It's our first time doing this. It's kind of funny, and yeah. I hope it all goes well.
Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube at a later date, today is the 28th of January 2017. If you're watching this at a later date, then you're watching a recording, and you could always come and join the next live stream by going to patreon.com and looking for Sweet Natural Living on Patreon. You can sign up there to get access to exclusive content, which is this Hangout, among other things. How's the technical stuff looking there, man? Is it?
It's looking good, I think.
And there's some stats on the viewers and all that stuff.
Yeah, Aneta Witkowska is here. It's good to have you with us.
I don't see anything in the chat here.
You need to open the window.
It says group chat on the side, and there's nothing.
That doesn't work.
Okay, how do I get it?
You have to enter the normal video link.
So what do you talk about the farm, Mads, while I'm doing this?
All right. Well, as you might notice, I am sitting in a pretty old kind of house. It's it's pretty run down in some ways and very old. But the point is, I'm living on a farm. We are inheriting a farm. Our father is inheriting, technically, but the whole family, you know how it is. And I'm here kind of inaugurating the house, I guess. I'm cleaning it. I'm living here, warming it up during the crazy winter with no snow here in Norway. For some reason, there's no snow, but there is kind of icing on the trees and stuff, which is kind of nice anyway.
I got the chat finally.
Good.
And yeah, Matt's just talked about his place. I'm here in Nice, as Matt said, and I'm in an apartment in the center of town, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Nice is, we've always been to Nice, and yeah, I guess it's very good for you now to be living alone for a little while there.
Yes, it is indeed. It's nice to have some time alone. So, shall we get into it?
We shall.
Well, how are we going to do this? I don't know. Like, we, of course, because the thing is, there's two challenges. First of all, we're two people, so we have different routines. And the second challenge is that there's no, like, we don't have any fixed routine, because it's over the months, over the days and the weeks and the months and the years, it's always changing depending on where we are, what we're doing, how our living situation is. And we've been traveling a lot for the last few years. So, of course, that means different routines all the time. But of course, there are some things that are fixed pretty much year round wherever we are, some things that are quite fixed. And then there are other things that change. And I think we could just use our current situation as an example and talk about how our typical routine is nowadays, and then talk a little bit about those fixed parts of the routine and how they relate to health and happiness and why we do the different things we do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Definitely, as you said, it's everything has changed so much over the years. But I feel like we've gotten more and more into routine that we kind of transport with us wherever we go to a certain degree.
That's true.
And kind of like figuring out what feels good and what is part of just naturally part of a healthy and interesting life.
Yes. So I guess we'll go through the day and like the first part of the day, and I'll share my view and you'll share yours, and then we'll go to the second part of the day and third part. Let's just divide the day into 5 parts, which is 4 parts of the day and then the night. So, there's the morning, there's the first part of the morning, and then there's the midday pretty much, and then there's afternoon, and then there's evening. So morning, day, afternoon, evening, and then there's night. So that's 5 parts, and we can go through each of those, talk a little bit about what happens in each of them, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try a little thing here, just quickly present to everyone.
What's that?
What that means. It's a possibility that we can both be in the same video.
Okay.
No, actually, I think it's just my face now.
Well, Aneta, if anything happens, if the feed goes out or anything, of course you can be our backup to just let us know if something is going wrong or something.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. So morning. First of all, I wake up. We both do. We wake up in the morning with no alarm clock.
Yeah.
No alarm clock in the morning. It's important to get enough sleep, and that's related to when you go to bed, which we can talk about at the end. But essentially, wake up at the same time pretty much every day, depending on when I go to bed, which is also usually the same time every day. I wake up, no alarm clock.
Mm-hmm. And because it depends so much on how much sleep you need that specific night, which totally changes depending on activity and how well you're actually sleeping.
Yeah, and you have to allow for that the body to just wake up when it wants to wake up, because if not, then you interrupt the sleep cycle, and you don't want to interrupt your sleep cycles. They are very important, and they're about 90 minutes long, and if you interrupt it halfway, it doesn't work very well. You need to allow the body to wake up naturally within the spectrum of half an hour to an hour. For me, it'll be different every day when I wake up. Sometimes it could be half an hour earlier, sometimes half an hour later, but usually it's within a range of about 20 minutes every day, just naturally. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I do is after I wake up is that I lie in bed for a little while. I just lie there, sort of, even with my eyes closed for the first part. I just sort of open my eyes slowly, think about the day a little bit, maybe think about some dreams that I had.
I think actually this part is actually one of the healthiest, because a lot of people have this kind of thing where they just jump out of bed and even with the mindset that it's healthy not to be lying and just like lazing in bed, but getting out of bed and shambling across the room, when they wake up. I think it's very important to actually have those few. Doesn't need to be very many minutes, but a few minutes where you're just like waking up.
Yeah, just gathering yourself and waking up. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
So I lie in bed. Personally, I lie in bed longer than you, Matt. I think I lie in bed for about half an hour, sometimes up to half an hour. It's not because I'm so sleepy I can't get out of bed, unless I had a really bad night's sleep, of course. But it's just because I just really enjoy starting very, very slowly, just thinking about things. What about you, Mats? How long are you in bed for?
It changes, I guess, depending on when I wake up. I have a tendency to wake up and get out of bed at more or less the same time. But usually I have at least 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes sometimes before I actually get out of bed. Time passes so quickly during the morning. Have you noticed how it's like I can wake up and look at the clock and be like, and just very short time after, what feels like just a couple of minutes, it's like, whoa, 12 minutes have passed.
Yeah. So one thing that I do when I'm in bed in the morning is that I take my resting heart rate. So I'll put my fingers on my throat or on my wrist, and I'll take my heart rate for 1 minute. And that will tell me a little bit about my current state. You know, if your resting heart rate, once you've established a norm, if your resting heart rate is 5 beats higher than normal, you have to be a little bit wary. And if it's 10 beats higher than normal, then you're likely either overtrained or sick. So it's a good way to indicate for training. I do it for training mostly, so I can sort of monitor my status so I don't overtrain. So that's something I do. All right. I get up afterwards. Like right now, nowadays, I'm in a really good routine where I'm actually making my bed in the morning, believe it or not.
Oh my God, this is revolutionary.
Yeah, I don't usually do that, but I do that now. I just make my bed. It takes me 30 seconds, really. It's nothing crazy. But actually, before I do that, I go to the bathroom. I empty my pee mug or bottle. I have this. This is an important thing again. Like if you want to be hydrated, you're gonna pee at night. You're gonna have to pee at least a couple of times, 2 to 3 times a night. You're gonna go to the bathroom if you're well hydrated. And you don't have to go through the bathroom. So having a potty or a pee bottle or a mug, which is what I've got, to pee in at night is important.
It might have been used before.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You used it when you were here?
Maybe. I don't know if there's anything else
it's
there.
like for lemonade, the kind of.
Yeah.
I go to the bathroom, I empty the mug, I wash it a little bit, I pee, I put on my clothes in the bathroom because it's warm there, and then I go back to the bathroom, to my bedroom, make the bed, and close the door to the bedroom, and I'm up.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good routine.
What about you?
Pretty similar, although I do have a more extensive cleaning regime at the beginning of the day. I wake up, turn on the lights, brush my teeth, go to the toilet, and after that I basically spend maybe 45 minutes cleaning up the house, everything, tidying up the fruit, fixing the sofa, fixing my bed, etc. Yeah.
Well, I also do similar things nowadays. After I put on my clothes and close the door, I go out and I brush the floor or sweep the floor with this thing, just for like 5 minutes. Just sweep the floor and just tidy up slightly, and then, but that's all for me though. And then I actually sit down on the sofa with the computer, and I sit on the computer for about almost an hour. That's the first thing I do in the morning, and I make an effort to, when I'm doing this, I don't really watch videos. I don't really write emails or anything like that. I might read some personal emails. I avoid doing any kind of work like Sweet Natural Living emails or comments. I just avoid that. I might read some personal emails. I might just surf the web for a little while, look at some websites, read about some kind of subject that I'm interested in, something I thought about when something I dreamt about or whatever. I want to check out, what, I can't come up with any example now.
Well, I think we all know what you mean. Like, there's endless small things.
Endless small things you want to check out, like what is the climate on Iceland? Like, what is it like? And something like that, I could spend half an hour just researching the climate of Iceland. Like, I'm that kind of person. While I'm doing that, Mads, if we're together, or when we're separate parts of the world, like now, Mads is doing all your cleaning stuff and fixing, doing the dishes and stuff, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, as I said, I spent the first 45 minutes, I guess. But that leads into the second part of the morning for me, which is the active part, which is basically after that cleaning process, I go to a room and do my stretching routine, which people might know from previous live streams me talking about. It's different. It's a kind of a mix between yoga and not acrobatics.
Strength, simple calisthenics, probably on the floor and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's my own thing. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I spend up to an hour every morning, and I've been doing so for like many years now, I think.
Yeah, at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 3.
I think it started out on La Palma maybe like 4 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, but you've been really consistent for the last 2 years. Like the last 2 years, you've done it literally every day, like 360 days a year.
Yes, except the ones I've been like had a cold or something.
Yeah.
Which obviously then everything is very different, and I don't do nothing. When you have a cold, when you're sick in any way, it's best just to don't do any activity, or how people actually say that, oh, when you have a cold, maybe you should be exercising a little bit because it might expedite things. But honestly, that's a crazy idea. Take it easy.
Aneta says that I think that thing is a broom, and I think that is true. That is indeed a broom that I use to sweep the floor with. How about you, Aneta? If you want to share anything about what you do in the morning, feel free to write us a comment about that, or if anyone else want to share, go ahead and do that.
Mornings for most people, for many people, I know a friend of mine, for example, he wakes up and then drives for an hour while listening to a podcast. So I think most people obviously do enjoy having calm mornings, not doing anything special, nothing of import.
But even though most people enjoy that, I think almost no one does that, though. No. Like if you get sit in the car for an hour, you get that sort of vibe. But if he was living closer to where he works, he would probably not sit in the car for an hour and just get up just a little later to get more sleep, which is probably more valuable. But people have a tendency to mornings are just stressful times for most people. And, it needs to be the exact opposite. The morning should be the least stressful. For me, it's almost like I could almost call it my quiet time. I'm quiet. I don't want to talk. I don't want to socialize. When Mads and I say hello to each other in the morning, when we live in the same house, we just say hello, maybe exchange a couple of words about how the sleep was or whatever. And then we don't really speak more than that. I don't want to get into a conversation at all, even if it's relaxed. I just want to ease into my day,
Mm-hmm. So I do my stretching. I listen to audiobooks while doing it, or podcasts or stuff like that. And after that, we gather together. We did at least on La Palma.
And eat breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's breakfast time after about an hour for me after I wake up, an hour and a half even. Mads, probably you're up a little bit earlier sometimes, and do all your cleaning and stuff. So breakfast comes around. You don't want to eat breakfast. Well, I don't want to eat breakfast at least immediately when I wake up. I want to allow my hunger to become present. It's not there when I wake up. I don't want to eat immediately when I wake up. I drink a little bit of water, but then I want to ease into it, and then eventually I get hungry and it's breakfast time, and we sit down to eat. And, it could be even as long as half an hour, the breakfast routine, maybe more like 20 minutes, but 15 minutes to half an hour, at least in the morning. Nowadays, I eat my breakfast while I watch some videos from Sage Canaday, VO2 Max Productions on YouTube, which is my favorite channel nowadays. I watch a video on some kind of running topic, and I drink my smoothie and I just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Aneta says that unfortunately nothing exciting in here. I try to sleep longer than used to. I think I have good results. I'm very close to 8 hours. Used to be around 6. Well, that's good. That's an improvement for sure. 8 hours is
definitely.
I think 8 hours is sort of established as the absolute minimum of sleep. Like when you go under 8 hours, you have a measurable decline in performance and reaction time and that sort of thing. So 8 hours, that's a good place to start. You can get by on 8 hours, but 9 hours is probably better, and even 10, and the best is just enough.
Yeah, and depending, of course, on your activity level and person in general, it might vary. Some people will get by with just 8 hours perfectly healthy. I
think so too.
At least 9.5 being kind of. I know that the times I wake up after 10 hours of solid sleep, I feel really good, but that doesn't happen very often. Usually it's about 9.5 hours and I feel normal.
Yeah, that's the same for me, although it's exactly the same for me. And I notice when I get 10.5 hours, that's really what I should have, because I feel amazing when I have that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's progress with the day, because now we get into a more random part of the day, which changes a lot. Because if you could say it like this, we'll get into the evening afterwards. If you take the evening out and the morning out, then the day is about 6 hours. That's usually how it is for me, and I think for Mats too. Like after breakfast, I have about 6 hours before I start thinking about dinner. And after dinner, I usually chill. So 6 hours of the day, that's the window I have to be productive, to go out, to do things, to train. And that's more than enough. That's fine. That's perfect. That's what I need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't want any more, really.
No, I wouldn't want more either. And, I think you can get more done in less time if you're well rested, well slept, etc., rather than trying to stay up for longer and get more stuff done. You don't get more stuff done. You just spend more time doing the same stuff, or less stuff even. So being productive is all about getting enough sleep, rest, living a happy, fulfilling life, and then going for it for those 6 hours in the day where you're like positive, out doing things.
So why don't you tell us of your nowadays, like what are you doing nowadays during these 6 hours? What is a normal day for you here?
Yeah, well, it's very difficult to say, because it's like from one day to the next, it varies. For example, today after breakfast, I went straight ahead and went to the gym and did like an hour and a half workout in the gym after a small breakfast. Then I came back and I ate a larger meal, and then I went out again, going to a cafe where I sat down to work, actually. So that was today, and the other days I might first eat after breakfast. I sit down, I work for 2 hours maybe on the computer. Then I go out for a run, come back home, eat lunch, and then I might go out again in the city here to do some work in the library maybe, or maybe I'll work at home. Usually I'll go out and do something. But the point is, I guess, that within those 6 hours, no matter where I am, I usually do 3 things. I train or exercise, usually running, but also going to the gym. I work, which means I'm working on the computer, answering emails, writing articles, making videos, editing videos, posting stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, on Patreon, coaching people. I'm working for 2 to 3 hours every day. And the last thing I do is...
Any more than that?
Definitely not, no. I feel like 3 hours. What?
How long is a perfect work session, would you say?
I would say a perfect work session is like 2 hours, but I could work 3 hours, and that would be a long session, but perfectly fine. 4 hours, and we're talking like a really long session. I don't want to spend that much time on the computer in one go.
Yeah.
And as I train more and more, I train more and more. As I get more fit, I'm going to train more and more. So for now, it's just an hour or 2 devoted to training related stuff every day, but it'll go up to probably several hours a day eventually. But the third thing I do within that 6-hour span is everything in between, which means getting to training, or getting to the library where I'm going to work, or going to the shop and buying food and bringing it home, or meeting a friend maybe for an hour, or just random things,
Yeah. My routine is very similar, so I can just continue on it, I guess. For me, it's usually I do my workout right after breakfast. I go to the gym, or I get ready to go out for the day. Here, yesterday, for example, I packed my backpack with bananas and water and these things that I need when I go out. I take the bus. Went to the gym. After that, usually I do work a little bit. It's a good time to, like, for 1.5 hours, a good time for me on the day days I'm working out at the gym. And after the gym, I usually do have lunch, depending. I might buy some food or something before, but yeah.
Yeah, that's something I do too. I think it's important part to schedule your training right before lunch. That's a really good way to do it, because you need food right after training, usually, depending on when you ate, but of course. But I like to really put my training right before lunch, so that when I'm done, I'm eating lunch. And nowadays you are doing and you are going to be doing quite a lot of physical work as well, because Mats, you don't only work with Sweet Natural Living, sometimes you do kind of other more physical type jobs as well, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Obviously, with the farm here, it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of washing and sweeping and pulling down walls and sawing off things and whatever it takes.
Painting
for sure, definitely a lot of painting, and I do enjoy painting. So on the days I'm not at the gym, I'm probably going to be working here quite a lot.
For how many hours?
Well, I guess I would start after lunch, breakfast, probably around 4 hours of the physical work. That seems to be a pretty good. I mean, I can go up to maybe 5 hours, but 5 hours is pushing it. That's starting to feel like too much work. 3 hours is fine, but I can do 4 if I have this kind of mental focus on work.
Yeah, and let's just mention also that for some people out there, they might hear this and be like, "What? You can only handle 5 hours of work?" But that's not true. Anyone can work for 12 hours. We could go ahead and work for 12 hours every day. We could do it. That's pretty tough, but so it requires quite a lot of strength to do that. I'm not sure if I would be able to actually work 12 hours on and on and on like that. But it's not about what you can do. It's not about your capacity to work. It's all about knowing your body and feeling what is optimal health-wise, and it's not healthy to work like physical jobs for more than a few hours at a time. It's overtaxing your system, especially if you want to spend some energy on training as well on the side, which is also physical work.
Yeah.
And it's also about being happy with it. I think naturally anyone who does anything gets bored after about 2 to 3 hours. Have you noticed? No matter what you do, no matter what it is, almost after a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, you start getting like, I'm ready to move on now. It's the next, please, And I think that's something that it's important to pay attention to in ourselves. And I think this is probably one of the most important keys of what we apply in our lifestyle, and what you need to be aware of if you want to have a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. And that is to not really push yourself way beyond what is naturally comfortable, naturally interesting to you. Just keep flowing. When you're done with something, move on to the next thing, and create your life so that you can work for 3 hours, train for 2-3 hours, or at least training related stuff, and this and that, and just sort of make your life perfect in that sense.
Yeah. I think people in general work way too much, and don't. They work at times that are not ideal. They work right when they wake up or right before they go to bed, and it's just endless problems with those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so focusing on when to work and how much work is actually physically comfortable. Yeah, it's extremely important. One of the biggest factors for living a healthy life.
Yes, and socializing is also something I like to do during the day. Actually, I prefer meeting someone for lunch rather than dinner, but it depends on the person. If I'm really relaxed with the person, I could hang out with them in the evening. It's okay, but I still prefer not to hang out with anyone in the evening. We'll get to that soon. But yeah, so I usually like to meet people in the day if I'm being social, and meet them for lunch or train together or yeah, that sort of thing. Lunch in itself is usually a quick affair for both me and Matt. Like lunch, breakfast is sort of a little slower. Dinner is very slow, just finishing off the day, talking about the experiences of the day. Whereas lunch, it's just like getting the food in, taking a breath, and then back to work or back to whatever is next. And that includes food shopping.
Yeah. Food shopping is part of life. It's, as I said, after working out, I might go buy a lot of food. That's a kind of a thing you do a lot when you're interested in health, because you're always carrying some kind of produce, be it pumpkins or mangoes, depending on where you are, maybe.
Yeah, unless you have a car, of course, which is a very useful tool. But right now, we both have to do sporadic shopping rather than systematized shopping. I go out and I buy bananas around town here. I'm in the center of town, so it's very convenient. There's bananas everywhere in all the little shops. So I just buy a little bit every other day or so. Same with the other stuff. So it's very convenient for me here.
Now, moving on to the latter part of the day.
Yes, let's do that. But first, I just wanted to add quickly that nowadays something has been a little bit different for me these days here in Nis compared to in Norway or other places, and that is that I've really realized the value of just leisure time. There's just like time with no purpose, because I'm here in the city, and every day I end up at one point, I feel like I just want to go for a walk in the city. I just want to sort of stroll down the street, look at people, maybe go into a shop and look at some, I don't know, listen to some music in a music shop or something random like that. And I've been really enjoying an hour or maybe even 2 hours, an hour and a half, I'd say, of just random strolling around town. And I find it amazing. It's so satisfying. It gets me to process my thoughts, think about things, think about life. So I've really become a very strong advocate, and I'm trying to make these changes to my life, a strong advocate of being efficient at what you're doing so that you can have more free time. So when you're training, you're doing it and you're getting it done, not stressing, not trying to get it over with, but you're not sort of just hanging around doing nothing in the gym or something. Yeah. And when you're working, I'm trying to make now this new plan where I'm going to try and be more efficient with my work, so that I can get all my work done in like 2 hours a day, just like 2 hours a day, bam, done. And then I can go out and train, and I can go out and take that walk.
Yeah. So I am a video gamer. I play video games. I've been playing video games my entire life, and it's awesome. Some people think it's childish and weird, but those people don't know what video games are, because it's the holy grail of mankind.
Yeah, and just please expand a little bit on that, because I think those people that don't know.
It's more sophisticated than you might think if you don't know. It's like an art form. It's you can go so in depth in these things. It's so much bigger than you might think.
Yeah, it's like an interactive movie, but just even way more complex sometimes.
Yeah. So I like to play video games. Maybe an hour before, or maybe just like 45 minutes before making dinner.
Yeah, so we're in the afternoon part of it now, I guess.
Yeah. It's important for me to chill down right before I make dinner. That's when the part of the day that's starting to go kind of, the energy goes down.
Yeah, that's true. It's like it's no more creative energy there. It's like at that point I start losing my creative energy, and I just want to be, I have lots of creative energy to spend on training and working during the day, but then in the afternoon I want to read a magazine. I want to lay down on the couch a little bit, or I want to just take an easy walk, for example, or maybe just, you play a video game. I might just surf YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Moving into what?
Then I make dinner.
Yes, which is the last part of the afternoon part, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I like making dinner. It depends, of course, if I'm making dinner or just preparing it, if you know what I mean. Here in Norway, obviously, there's, in my opinion, the healthier almost choice is to eat some cooked food, because it's very limited what you get at this time of year. It's just persimmons and bananas, and there's endless reasons, but and you can look into that on other videos of us. But the point is, here, for example, I do make sweet potatoes, steamed. Everything is steamed usually. Sweet potatoes, pumpkins, broccoli, simple things. And this process, I think, for both of us is actually something we enjoy very much.
It is indeed. I think one of the benefits of a raw food diet is that there's no dishes and there's nothing to prepare. It's fast food, and that is true when that's what you want. It's definitely true for breakfast and lunch, and it's because I just want to get it. I want to get the food, but for dinner, depending on my situation, in Costa Rica, it was okay, just sort of washing the fruit a little bit and then sitting down to eat the fruit. That I enjoy that process a lot. But when I'm in Norway, maybe it's culture, maybe it's, or here in this too, maybe it's just, I don't know, it's just an enjoyable process when you settle into it and just slowly prepare your food, cook your food. It takes about 45 minutes, maybe, the whole process, maybe up to an hour if you're a little bit slow. And usually when we're together, Mats, we like to do that. We do it together and we talk and share thoughts and experiences. And it's quite a nice social fix as well.
Yeah, it is.
Then afterwards, of course, the food is cooked. Were you going to say something other than that?
No.
Yeah, the food is cooked and it's ready. Sweet potatoes, pumpkin, potatoes, whatever, on the plate. We sit down to eat. When we're together, we like to sit down together and eat, and we talk about all kinds of things. And we make an effort not to go in depth in terms of, like, we don't talk about business stuff. We don't talk about sweet natural living so much. We don't talk about planning or dates or anything like that. We just talk casually, just easiest talking, so we don't, we want to focus on eating, not talking, and just sort of focus on the food and relax and then have a casual conversation. I think that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people tend to go into really deep discussions, and that just, especially if you get angry and stuff like that, you're not going to digest your food well. You're going to not even notice that you're eating. It's just going to be bam, over, and that's depressing. I mean, food is like the best part of the day.
Definitely. Now that I'm alone, I listen to the radio, actually, the Norwegian radio, rather, from the internet. I listen to a radio show every day. That's pretty chill. Just people talking about subjects. And I do notice that I need that social fix almost when I'm eating dinner. I don't want to sit alone. So I listen to the radio. And when we're together, Mats, it's an important part of our lives, I think. We both talked about that a lot, how eating dinner together is so important, having someone to eat dinner with.
Definitely. It can be very quiet to eat alone, and I think because it's such a big social happening over.
It's a cultural. It's eating
thousands
dinner
of
is linked with the social interaction, and culturally speaking, I think it's deeply embedded in our social
culture
genetics.
and norm, and what feels natural and normal.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people. No, sorry, I was going on
Okay.
a different route.
So easy dinner, maybe an hour. Like nowadays, I don't sit for an hour because I'm sitting alone, but I usually sit for half an hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
When we're sitting together, we usually sit for an hour, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Sometimes even longer. In the summer, out with the birds and it's amazing to sit out and eat dinner in the summer. And if we're eating fruit, just because we're in a place where there's awesome fruit, then it's pretty much the same setup. It's just without the cooking process. We just sit down and we enjoy the fruit, and then we talk afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move into the last part of the day and sort of wrap it up, I guess. So the last part of the day is after dinner. And it is, to some degree, I find, one of the most important parts of the day if you want to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And the key here is not to do anything. Socializing at night, exercising at night, working at night, or anything like that. It's really not ideal. It's not conducive to good sleep. And also mentally, you need to shut off at one point. If you've been working all day, the dinner is sort of the point, the cutoff point. After dinner, I do not work anymore. I don't focus on any kind of stuff like that. I just sort of withdraw into myself and I relax.
Yeah, not even working for a minute. Nothing. No. Like if even just thinking about things like, oh, how am I gonna do that live stream tomorrow? No, don't even think about it, because those couple of hours before you go to bed is arguably, as you said, some of the most important hours to kind of have fixed. At least they are for me, and I know they are for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. And if you think about something you're going to do tomorrow, some work stuff or something that sort of stresses you a little bit, just having that thought triggers a little bit of a hormonal, response where your adrenals secrete a little bit of adrenaline and you get a little bit of a stress response. And what you want in the evening and at night is to maintain that restorative recuperation recovery mode, which is of the parasympathetic nervous system rather than the sympathetic nervous system, which is like fight or flight. You want to rest and digest, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we do that, both here now separately, but also when we're together, is that we pretty much, we don't do the dishes because Mads does the dishes in the morning. Nowadays, of course, I have to do my own dishes, which is a bitch. But we don't do the dishes. We just put it in the kitchen and then we sit down. I have a nice chair that I like to sit in Norway, a very comfortable ergonomic chair.
Might need a very specific sort of chair to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I am never comfortable. I always end up with terrible sofas that are just like, I don't know. I just have uncomfortable.
We got to do something about that. We have to find some kind of chair or something that that fits your needs.
Yeah.
We sit down and basically withdraw from the world by going into the computer world. And basically, we don't really talk to each other that much. We don't really interact with each other much. We just sort of start relaxing, which means surfing the web, watching YouTube videos, usually for me. And then at the end of the session, which lasts maybe 2.5 hours, the last few hours before I go to bed, I watch some kind of movie or an episode of some TV series or something, so where I can just put my computer away, because I find YouTube and surfing the web is more interactive.
Yeah.
You sort of, you're more in and out. You're interacting with the computer, whereas at the end there, I need to just put on something to watch and watch it. I don't feel like it's just entertainment. It's amazing. I love movies and I love art, that kind of going into a different world and imagining something.
Yeah, which is obviously for my part video games again. I like playing video games during that time, checking up on video game news, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable and relaxing, actually, depending on what you're playing. Like there's some games that I avoid playing at night, obvious things such as horror games or stuff like that, because it just kind of hypes you up and leaves you with a terrible feeling you shouldn't be having it, before going to bed.
I have the same thing with when it comes to what I'm watching. I avoid watching things that make my adrenals react. I don't watch sort of action movies or something like that. I like to watch relaxing kind of stuff. Anetta is also asking, where would you place sex, if I can ask? Well, if you mean in terms of the schedule of the day, I think any hour can be good. But I mean, it depends. If you have the ability to do it, if you're alone, then you're alone. But of course, depending on the time and the situation, if you're with someone, or maybe you're living together with someone, or maybe you're not, maybe you're a part of the regular world where you go out and meet people and that sort of thing at night, then I would say, well, that part of it is probably not the healthiest, strictly speaking, going out and meeting people at night and that sort of thing. But if you're living with someone, of course, I would say I would just sort of put it in the category of exercise and emotional intensity, because it's emotionally intense and it's physically intense, obviously. So it's
it's also a very strange situation, because it leaves you in a different kind of mode than if you were to exercise. It's not.
Oh, that's true. Well,
it doesn't really hype you up. It leaves you in a different state.
Yes, that's true. So I guess I would. Dad.
Our mother has been having issues trying to get on the chat. Finally, she managed.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, I would say I would approach it as sort of like exercise, but then again, you are more relaxed afterwards and that sort of thing. So anytime you see fit, basically. So hello, Mom. Thanks for joining us at the very, very end. We're going to wrap it up now.
She's been watching for the last half hour.
Oh, okay. Just commenting now. Let's wrap it up. The very last part of the day is when we are closing the computer and it's time to go to bed. And sometimes this is a difficult time, because it's like you can get stuck on the computer and feel like you want to do things for longer than you should. And it's really important to have a very strict rule about it's bedtime now. Now it's bedtime. I need to close the computer. The moment I close the computer, I feel like, I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I didn't notice when the computer was up, but then, just to quickly mention, I do use the Flux application on my computer, which dims the screen and puts it on a sort of different light so that it doesn't hinder my melatonin production. That's a good tip.
Right.
But yeah, I close the computer. I feel sleepy. I think it's the same for you, Mats. It's brushing teeth, go to brush teeth, and then go to bed.
Yeah.
And then I read for about half an hour in bed. And
personally, I listen to audiobooks again. Very good way, because I actually manage, like when I'm reading, I start to feel tired, but even more so when I'm listening to audiobooks, because suddenly I might find myself not remembering what's been happening in the audiobook, and at that point I'm just like, okay, I need to turn off. But it's usually about half an hour as well.
Yeah. The thing I researched this morning, that thing I said I'm researching some subject every morning. The thing I researched this morning was whether or not reading or learning something right before bedtime is good, or like if you retain it better or something. And it turns out that you do. When you read something before bedtime, you retain it better. Your memory is more able to store it because you're sleeping right after. And I read like nonfiction. So right now I'm reading a technical running book, which like lots of details and scientific facts in it. And that's great, because I'm able to retain it better.
Anetta says that her basically the best time of the day, I guess. For her, is bedtime, morning or
yeah, the best time to have sex, as that's what she means, I think.
Oh. Well,
Which it is probably, it's so any time of day. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah, I think I would prefer mornings actually if I had to choose one.
She has a nice chair for me. But
yeah.
At the moment, I'm actually kind of comfortable with that sofa over there, which is calling.
Good. Calling. Yeah, I'm getting tired now. It's intense to having these hangouts. You know, actually, just to be completely honest, the reason we do these hangouts at this hour, which I know is a little bit early on a Saturday in America and that sort of thing, the reason is because I don't want to do it after dinner. I do not want to have a hangout like this, which makes me really high. I don't want to do that in the evening. No, so we do it before dinner.
Yeah.
B.A. Lynch, hello from New York City. Thanks for the hangouts. Cool. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so that's it really. The last thing is falling asleep, and then I sleep for 10 hours, as we mentioned. So that's a pretty much 24-hour rotation for us.
Yeah, it's very nice. Focus on feeling good always. It's so important.
Yeah, I love my life. It's so satisfying. I do what I want, when I want it, how I want it. And we're able to do that now. And thanks to you guys on Patreon. Thank you so much. You are making this more possible for us to live the life that we want. Because, and you know, when you do something you love, you will always get support from people around you. So thanks for the support, everyone on Patreon. Thanks for watching our videos, which means that we can continue making videos and you know, all the feedback we get from everyone who watches our videos. That's awesome. And thanks to our mom and our dad for supporting us, having our back sort of, even financially, when at times where we don't have enough, you know, money to make ends meet. They sort of help us a little bit there sometimes, and that's really something we appreciate. Yeah. Although, of course, most of our money and that sort of thing we make ourselves by working. But there's no doubt we are thankful for everyone who is contributing to us and our lives and helping us being able to do what we are passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Aneta. Yes, we will have a good sleep eventually. It's dark now in Norway, as Mom says, and Odd Gesture is also thanking for the hangouts. And apparently it's a good time in the US. I guess it depends on where in the US you are. If you're on the East Coast, it's pretty a good time, but West Coast might be a little bit early.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Thanks, everyone. That's nice to hear your comments, and really cool to have you with us. And now I am hungry, and I've got water on the stove so that I don't have to wait too long for the water to heat up. So the water is on the stove. I've cut up all my sweet potato and that sort of thing already, and I'm just going to toss it in the water, and I can eat in about 15 minutes. Mom says now we are making vegan pizza. Cool.
She's saying that? That hasn't come up on mine. Oh, there we
go. Really?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, cool. Good on you.
That's nice.
Thanks for watching.
Yep, thanks for watching. This was cool. I like this format when we're talking like this.
Kind of fun.
Kind of fun. Oh, I'm so hungry.
All right, we shall be seeing you later. Thanks for watching. Join us for the next hangout. And yes, if you're not a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com in the link below and join us for the next one.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you.
See ya.